Urban exploring. The dangerous activity involving breaking and entering into abandoned buildings.
Whoa, wait.
Adrenaline junkies and vandals have given the practice a bad name. But true urban explorers are supposedly concerned with the preservation of man-made structures. Are they just trespassing? Or is there more to the story? My name is Vikki Jenner and I am a historian. I love how objects and the buildings that house them tell a story. My research leads me to grand private palaces, beautifully looked after. But what about those buildings not cared for? That roof's just fallen straight down. Are we closing our eyes to a whole genre of history?
So creeped out right now.
And could urban exploring be the key to understanding and preserving forgotten buildings?
At one point I thought we were going to get stranded over there, the waves are so big. But you just sort of got on with it, it was great.
Yeah, there was a few moments over there where I was just calmly terrified on the inside, but it was all alright.
You didn't show it. You kept your confidence, which is great. Right, should we go and sit down and have a chat about what you do? So Sam, you must see so much of the seabed when you're going out there and doing your free diving. Can you tell me of any examples of when it's really impacted the landscape or the seabed?
So wrecks form like a structure.
Exactly how many ships have been wrecked on the Manacles is not yet known. Some say 1,000, others say 3,000. But what we do know just by looking around this graveyard is that hundreds of people have drowned on those treacherous rocks. As I've walked around St Kevern's graveyard, I've come across a vast number of mementos and graves to commemorate long past wrecks. As we walk in at the entrance, we see a great big carronade which commemorates the HMS Primrose. And then we have the plaque that looks at James Smith and celebrates his life, but also commemorates his death at the sinking of the Titanic. And I think Wesley is quite a prominent character, isn't he? Like, as we look around just the sitting room, but around the museum as well, there are lots of objects and items within the collection that very much sort of host his face, his visage, the iconography of him. Yeah. And so do you have quite a few authentic objects in the Wesleyana collection?
These are John Wesley's preaching bands. As far as we know, they are ones that he would have worn. And it's something he would have worn when he was preaching. It's similar to what our ministers wear now. We call it a dog collar to show that he was ordained.
Brilliant. And what does it say on the back? Because I'm very intrigued to always read whoever it's sort of acquired by or who's been collecting. So it says, given to us by Mr. Paul Houghton, a legacy from his father and his mother, Reverend Edward Houghton, known as Ted, in 2002. So these are actually very recently acquired, really, in the last in the last 23 years. Christina Rossetti is a good example of a writer whose poetry was shaped not simply by devotion to God, but by devotion and regular church going. Given the number of works produced in the 19th century that claimed the Bible and the Book of Common Prayer as poetry, not to mention the increasing use of hymns in worship, church was the location in which Victorians, whether poets or avid readers, would have encountered poetry on a regular basis. The church is not only a place to show off wealth, stylishness or power, but a space for spiritual and physical refuge.
Vikki Jenner is tracing a piece of buried Cornish history for a postgraduate research project. She's part of a new generation of historians learning how fortifications like St Maur's Castle failed to fend off slave traffickers from North Africa during the 17th and 18th centuries. The so-called Barbary pirates targeted Cornwall in particular, along with other European coastal regions. Some studies show over 1 million people were captured in total to be sold in African slave markets.
What I've been finding out is that from 1609 to 1617, when it really first becomes introduced, Barbary piracy becomes introduced into the Cornish coastline as a threat for the people, and they are pillaging, trafficking people. And you think, why hasn't it been looked into? Why has all of this information not been brought to the surface of our history books?
Victoria.